Far Cry 4 takes place in the fictional Himalayan country of Karat, where the story follows RJ Gale, a young man returning to his place of birth so that he can put his mother's ashes to rest. During this journey, RJ will become embroiled in a civil war between Karate rebel fighters and the Royal Army, who are led by their despot king, Pagan. In this video, I've managed to put together as many Easter eggs, references, and any other points of interests that I could find. And if you do enjoy this, then subscribe, that way you can stay up to date on all future videos I put up. Now it's time to enter the majestic world of Karat. So we start off within Plur Mansion, where RJ is the guest of honor. At this point in the story, this is only the prologue, but there is a way to trigger a secret ending from here. By waiting in this room for about 15 minutes for Pagan to return, he'll then take RJ outside to let him place his mother's urn in the shrine. Once done, the game goes to the closing credits. There's a likely homage to a scene in one of the Indiana Jones movies found on this dinner table. At the center of it are elaborately decorated dead monkeys that are holding candles. This is reminiscent of the banquet scene in the Temple of Doom, where Indy and the other guests were served chilled monkey brains. While escaping from the mansion, you may initially miss some of the smaller details that can be found here, such as the various child letters, which can be read. It reveals Paul de Plur Harmon has a daughter that he dotes on, and is a stark contrast to his villainous depravities. And off to one side of the room, below this American flag, is a framed picture of her. During RJ's escape, if he stays to listen in on de Plur's interrogation, he'll say a particular name.
That's when I saw him. Dr. Phil. Do you have him out here? Dr. Phil? Amazing. He says to me, and I remember this very clearly because it really stuck with me. If I'm going to be really happy, I have to find my inner truth.
Dr. Phil is also mentioned in the description of a signed 8x10 photograph. Though the surname is different, Phil Fletcher is a fictional parody to Dr. Phil McGraw, and are both mental health professionals turned TV personalities. Throughout Karat are multiple stencil artworks that can be found on the walls showing story characters or animals, along with the artist's logo. This is the moniker of Christian Guamy, a real-life French street artist whom Ubisoft had hired to produce these portraits for the game. His logo even appears during the intro cutscene when the bus RJ's on is being shot up by the Royal Army. Now for this entry, we'll have a look at the collection of loot that are all callbacks to the previous Far Cry games. In Gamebook's description, it name drops both the protagonist and villain from Far Cry 1. There are two items that refer to the second game. Conflict Diamond mentions the Boa Seco region of Africa that players explored during the last half of the game, and Malaria Pills alludes to the two infamous game mechanics that were scrapped from future games. They were the constant malaria attacks and weapons jamming. Far Cry 3 references can be found on the descriptions of knockoff GPS, naming the Rook Islands, and Maimed Hawaiian alludes to one of the game's antagonists, Voss. And VHS Cassette describes the main character and dragon in Far Cry Blood Dragon. There are several items that are reused assets from Far Cry 3. A humorous message on a sticker can be found on a jet ski or quad bike, which reads, "Playing too much video games may lead to aggressive behavior. Handle with care, herp derp." On alcohol bottles and crates is the brand name Yellow Jack Rum with a skull and crossbones image. This may be a likely reference to the pirate Jack Sparrow. And there's another humorous sticker on these oxygen cylinders that reads, "Christmas has been cancelled. Apparently, you told Santa you've been nice this year. He has died from laughing." In the Shannoth Arena, the announcer will sometimes be heard quoting a line said by Russell Crowe from the movie Gladiator.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
In a cave called Yalong's Jaw, there are tables with multiple golden cups, similar to the final scenes from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where the immortal knight watches over the cup of Christ until he finds one worthy to replace him. And nearby is a skeleton with another collectible lost letter, only the developers found it fitting to place a cup in his hand, indicating that he drank from it and died choosing the wrong one. The DJ, Rabbi Ray Rana, can be heard over the radio, making references to characters like the Joker and Breaking Bad's Walter White. But the actual point of interest here is his yellow shirt, as the brand on it is the same one seen on the shirt worn by Grant Brody in Far Cry 3. The next film reference is found in Yaong Panther. On a wall inside one of the alcoves is a note explaining the rules of Yaong Panther and appears to show similarities to the rules of Fight Club. In an unmarked house on the map are several bodies who were slain by the goat serial killer. One of these has an arrow in the knee and a bucket over their head. They are both nods to the game Skyrim, as the arrow in the knee is a popular meme.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
While the bucket is a reference to players being able to place it over an NPC's head so that they could steal anything in the room without them seeing the theft. A couple of things return from Far Cry 2, like being able to change the time of day, and there's a mission involving diamonds which takes place up in the Himalayan mountains, requiring the player to use a GPS tracker. This is a callback to the diamond searching aspect of the second game, as well as one of the side quests in Far Cry 3. In one of the armed escort missions, at the end of the trail, a woman will mention the STD problem that the soldiers were having.
Thank you for seeing the shipment safely here. At least now we won't have to listen to those soldiers complaining about how it burns when they miss.
This alludes to a random line spoken by some of the pirates in Far Cry 3.
Shit! It burns like a mother when I piss. Should have used a rubber.
For one of the Karat Fashion Week missions, the button prompt, unusually this time, will ask the player if they are sure they wish to continue. This is a joke leading up to the hunting of a rare honey badger, and Mr. Chiffon will quote a couple of lines said in a popular viral video.
I found your latest design. It looks like a bag made out of a honey badger.
Rare honey badger, rare. They're nasty, they don't give a shit. I could go on, but I won't. It's passé, so last year.
Now look, here's a house full of bees. You think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit. It goes right into the house of bees to get some larvae. Ew, that's so nasty. The honey badger doesn't care. It's getting stung like 1,000 times. It doesn't give a shit. It's hungry.
Two guns you can acquire are based on weapons from particular films. The HS-77 gun, meaning Han Solo, from the 1977 movie Star Wars, refers in its description to a scene in the film where Han Solo shoots Greedo first before a later edition changed it. The other pistol is based on RoboCop's Auto 9, and the name of it are the initials of the character's human name, Alex James Murphy. Willis Huntley makes a return from the last game, and at the end of the mission, when he first meets RJ, he says this.
You're the perfect wolf in sheep herder's clothing. Way better than the SoCal douchebag I had to babysit at my last stop. You're both patriots, though.
The SoCal, or South Californian, that he's referring to is Jason Brody. For this entry, we'll take a look at the second group of loot I collected. There's an item that references the game BioShock, as it mentions a failed underwater utopia in the description. The safety whistle item describes the singer Celine Dion. Monkey's Paw is a reference to the short horror story of the same name. The story is about 3 wishes being granted to the owner of the magical paw. Remote Control reveals that Karat has its very own Real Housewives TV series, like their American counterparts. This user manual shows the initials RTFM. It's an internet slang that means this. And the last item is a reference to the Game of Thrones book and TV series. It alludes to House Stark's family motto, and the character is Tyrion Lannister. At Kingsbridge, there's a note stuck on a wall that gives instructions for border inspections. This is based on the puzzle simulation game Papers, Please, where the player takes on the role of a border crossing immigration officer, and the instructions are very similar. On one of the hunt briefing missions, an NPC will mention strapping some explosives onto monkeys, prompting RJ to say this.
What is it with people and exploding monkeys?
This may be a possible callback to a scene in Far Cry 3, in which Herc did something similar.
Coco! Macaw monkey, about yay big, wears a vest, with about a pound of C4 strapped to him.
You strapped C4 to a monkey?
Navy did it with dolphins.
Throughout Karat are a bunch of lost letters that are written by a British soldier and his wife. Before collecting one of these lost letters, looking closer at the satchels will reveal the iconic symbol belonging to the Templar Order. These are the villains from another Ubisoft game series, Assassin's Creed. After completing all of the Yogi and Reggie missions, they'll offer RJ a golden pipe as a reward. This item is found in the Gale homestead and can be used at any time. By smoking it, RJ will wake in a random location with no lasting effects. Just south of Pagan Min's fortress is an unmarked location where one of Pagan's notes of wisdom can be read. On it, he refers to the definition of insanity, which is another homage to Voss.
But the definition of insanity is insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
On these metal shelves that can be found in many locations are various books with most of the spines blank or unreadable, with the exception of one. The name on the side of the book shows William Cullen Bryant, who's an American poet and a journalist. He's not featured in the game, nor are there any characters named after him, and his works have no connection to the game's narrative or lore, but otherwise it seems that some developers at Ubisoft must have been fans of his. In North Kyrat, you can discover the location of where the serial killer, known as the Goat, resides when he's not leaving masks around the country. The Goat appears to be an officer of the Royal Army who worships an evil Kyrati deity called Yaong, and the ground in front of the statue is littered with the human bones of his sacrifices. After de Plur is captured and taken away by the Golden Path, he's never heard from in the story again, but he can be found outside of Banapur village at any point after his capture by heading over to the cliff edge. He can be seen bound and stuck inside of a cage, being tormented by the Golden Path fighters. He won't react to anything RJ does, but if you shoot the cage open, the rebels turn hostile toward de Plur and will gun him down. At the end of the game, after RJ places his mother's urn in its final resting place, Pagan will take his leave, giving RJ Kyrat to rule, and there'll be a moment where the player can choose whether or not to shoot down the chopper. If it's destroyed, then RJ can return later to find the crashed chopper with Pagan Min's body lying nearby. You can even recover from Pagan's body a lapel pin and his golden pen, both of which can be sold for a lot of money. The items even appear to respawn on Pagan's body over time, making this a perfect opportunity to get more cash when needed. When the game's finished, depending on whose side of the Golden Path leadership RJ chose, will determine which secret ending you can watch that will finally reveal their villainy. Sabal can be found in front of Jelendu Temple, while Amita is in Tirtha. What happens to either of them after these revelations is entirely in your hands. For the final few entries, we'll have a look at some of the key locations that are of particular interest that you can discover during a general exploration of Kyrat. One unmarked home that cannot be entered has some stairs nearby leading down into the cellar. It's down here we can find that someone is taking drastic measures, as there's a large bomb atop a gurney with its detonator nearby. Just below this bridge is a crashed vehicle with two dead Golden Path rebels in front of it. When reading the note, it's discovered that they died not from the Royal Army, but by their own hands from a failed stunt, as the movie producer Sharma Salsa had gotten them to film something that obviously failed, and this note is actually a damage waiver. There are many caves that seem to have been claimed for one god or another, and there are such numbers around Kyrat that many of these locations become forgettable. But Yaong's belly appears to be one of the few exceptional locations in the main area. There's a statue of a goddess that rests in the center, surrounded by several other statues, and posing as if to offer something up to her. On a closer look at what they're offering, they appear to be mummified monks who all passed away a long time ago. At this location is another soldier's skeleton by his lost letter. He's lying on a table attached to a car battery. The letter on the wall reveals the person responsible for this was trying to bring him back to life after a film he saw. Though it's not mentioned by name, it's most likely the doctor in question was Dr. Frankenstein. And for the last entry, if you're bored of all the fighting and killing, head off to this location to have a kickabout with a football and try scoring some goals.